Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Paradigm of Profit, Season 1, Episode 4. If you can believe it, time is just flying by, and we're super excited to obviously be here with you one more time to talk about a lot of great points today. Sunita, we have a lot of great content. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what we'll be talking about?
Well, you noticed that we've been talking about the role of values, and this is exciting because we're actually going to see how these values play in the decisions that we make and the things that we get passionate about.
So I can imagine that it's going to be we're going to go into it pretty well, right?
We are. We're going to get examples of them. We're going to look at how they affect what we get excited about and how that's very important to use that as we create businesses for ourselves or projects that we take on in life.
Wonderful. Now, we had an opportunity to meet this past weekend with a great guy. I mean, personally and professionally, he's the consummate professional, an entrepreneur with a lot of experience, and we are glad to introduce you to Mr. J.R. I'm going to try his name, Sanghera, right? J.R. Sanghera. So he does give me a nod, so I appreciate that. So without further ado, why don't we go ahead and just roll a clip of our time with J.R. this past week.
I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years. We took over India Palace in 1996. India Palace, the food is unique. We take pride in our taste of the food and the quality of it. It's all ages, from young generation, 3, 4, 5-year-old kid, their parent that they want to go to India Palace. I check on my customer because they are my fan. Oh, hello, how are you? How's everything? Doing good. Good to see you again. I go visit them because they are coming to visit me. They don't come here as much for food as much they say they came to visit me. This is what I heard, that if you do what you like to do, you never have to work a day in your life.
I'll tell you what, that was pretty powerful, and I'm just super excited to have been in front of this gentleman. I mean, he's such a great guy. Got a big heart, loves to give. And Sunita, what did you think overall about our conversation with JR?
I think that, like most entrepreneurs or anyone that is going for a big goal in their life, and definitely owning a business is a huge goal, and succeeding at that business in the long run, it's going to involve what you're passionate about. And what you're passionate about gets developed in values. And values are developed and then crystallized. It was actually Morris Massey, famous psychologist and sociologist, that developed the plan, sort of an overview of how values get developed. So as an entrepreneur, or if you're doing anything with your life, that you're going to be tested. Because when you lead in something, which is, again, entrepreneurship, project development, whether you're opening a ministry, whether you're leading any type of project, you're going to find that there will be times that your values will be tested. And today, we're going to spend time on how those got created, how they got developed, and how they got crystallized.
Okay, so that's going to be something that we want to encourage everybody to take notes.
And please engage with us. The research that I present is cutting edge, but if there's something that you haven't seen yet or some question that you have, we feed off of your engagement.
So we're going to be talking about value sets, how we develop our own value sets.
Right.
And so why don't we go ahead and play just a quick clip that kind of goes over, it'll show you all what these value sets are, and then we'll have Dr. Trevino go into how this particular entrepreneur, JR, from India Palace, how he developed those as we move on. Sound fair?
Definitely.
Okay.
So according to Massey, there's 3 stages of value development. There's the imprint period, where everything actually comes across as true. You're around the ages of 0 to 7, and you just take what you see as the way it is. You don't question anything. And unfortunately, this can be the period where you can have trauma because you're not questioning anything. You're seeing things like that's the truth. But these are the early formations of what's good and bad. You can also use the imprint value, the imprint stage of value development as an indicator to you of what you think is right and wrong. So we'll see a lot of this developing into morals later on. The next stage is modeling period, and this is an older age 8 to 13, where now you're not just taking anything at face value. In fact, you start looking at your teachers and other people as an indicator of your values, and you're trying on different values, sort of like a suit that you try on. And some of them you may keep and some of them you don't. The last stage of development with your values is the socialization period. And this is from age 13 to 21. And again, very largely influenced by your peers. And now you've seen right to wrong, you've seen the morals of it. And now you're beginning to actually maybe rebel against the first values that you had and say, well, maybe that's not necessarily what I think I want to believe in the long run. And that's the socialization period.
Okay, sounds good to me. Did you guys manage to get all that? If not, try to replay it later on this afternoon. There's a lot of good points here. And why don't we go into the first one of the first phases of development. And we've also got a clip that we want to show the viewers there. So
Yes.
What do you think? Should we play it?
Yes, please go ahead and play that.
All right, guys.
You're telling me a great story about your family. Tell me about what did your father do and the lessons that you learned from your father.
Well, my father was a medicine man. He homeopathic doctor, they call allopathy, the cure with herbs and medicine, not today's medicine.
Right.
But that also falls into the food.
Yeah.
The food is medicine.
Right.
So different kind of food is given to different people for different reasons. It's a natural food, it's a healer. It's a healing. Somebody tell me, hey, I'm having upset stomach. What should I eat? So we will recommend the plain rice and the lentil soup. Very basic, very little salt, very little spice in it. That will soothe and also take care of the problem.
All right, so there's a first clip. Kind of does a really nice job of setting the foundation for how this gentleman thinks.
Yes, and if you can see and listening to, so his father was a healer. And later on, you're going to hear about a traumatic thing that he saw that actually altered the value, which is the second stage of value development. But at first, what happens is he sees that his father is able to help people. So a value got created, he wanted to help people. Later on, you're going to see that the way his father was helping people was actually traumatic for him because the police would actually invade and come, and there was no regulation and stability. So he goes from wanting to help people in medicine to using food. Now you can tell that from that first experience, there was an imprint that was left. Now he accepted that as the truth, and that's what we do at this period. He accepted that healing and helping people was the best way to do things. You also hear him talking a little bit about wanting to do what his dad did, and that was something that was modeled. So you'll hear things like today in modern society, you hear comfort zone, you hear identity, and these are terms that are used interchangeably, but the values, which is our life, again, we've mentioned this before, values get created in our life experience. They're not handed to us. We're actually born almost like a blank slate. There is a genetic propensity that we can inherit certain personality traits, but for the most part, our values get created in our life experiences. And you can hear how he valued helping people, he valued healing people, but also in the next, we're going to talk a little bit about where he decided not to do it the way his dad did it and changed a little bit of how he was going to do something.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and roll that clip now?
Why didn't you do medicine man stuff? I mean, why restaurant?
Medicine man, the way they was doing it at that time, it was harassed by police a lot. So I did not want to put up with that. So I said, next door guy was making a restaurant, tons of money, and didn't have to worry about all that things. And so why not? The money.
That's pretty powerful. So for him, he had some experiences that were negative with regards to his father.
Right. Well, his father modeled to him that the way to make a life was to help people. And that's a good thing, definitely. But he didn't want to do the medicine because he saw instability. And this is where that second stage of value development, where you learn from your parents, the first part really. The second stage is, well, I don't know if I like this. I don't know if this is the way I want to do things. And that's where you begin to get more into the modeling period. And then eventually you're going into the socialization period, where you're taking what you learned from your parents, you've tried on some different values, and now you're finding your way around your values and how you want to manifest your life around those values.
I see. Okay, so the next clip that we're going to actually be talking about kind of goes into that a little bit further, and you're going to expound on that. So let's go ahead and go with our next clip.
I was 10-year-old when I saw my father, and they'd come every 3 months and bring lots of money and all kind of fruit, dessert, everything. I mean, abundance, everything.
Yeah.
Including all the relatives, everybody. They think, oh, this is the place to be.
Yeah.
Wow, that's can you imagine kind of just that atmosphere? That's what I kind of think about, is just the setting as he's painting this beautiful picture, beautiful portrait of how his family life was.
Right.
And at that particular time of his life, I'm picturing in my head vividly his whole family there, his friends, his neighbors. They're all a part of this.
Right.
How does that impact him as an entrepreneur?
Well, see, what happened was his identity got created. Now, the psychologist and sociologist, his name is Massey. Again, he didn't put identity and self-image psychology. He didn't combine those. He just had the stages. But when you look at other things that we know about human development, identity got created during that modeling period from that age of 8 to 13. We actually experienced what he wanted to do and what he didn't want to do. You can also see what got created was self-image. He saw that his father was the go-to person in his family. So he said, well, if that's my dad, then that's probably something that I'm capable of doing and something I should do. And this is, where you get your shoulds or shouldn'ts, right? The imprinting and not then the modeling period. But you can see that what he's doing today was all created in those times when values were, before they were even concretized, I guess is the word, is made into concrete, which is the next area we're going to talk about. The next development of values, when they become principles. Now they've become morals. And some people never reach this stage. And I don't know, are we going to have we might have a list, right, of all of these things that we're talking about, so they can make a copy of it?
Yeah, so we can go ahead and provide that afterward. We'll send you a link to our website. You can download that list. I think that's a really great suggestion there.
Yeah, and you'll see that not everybody gets to this stage, but I know that anyone that's led an army or that has been challenged in any way will eventually have to get principled, where now your values are concrete. You think about someone like Gandhi or Martin Luther King, where their values were so concrete that they were actually operating at a subconscious level and were no longer negotiable for people. So, and what's interesting too is, as a leader, as a person in the community, that's whether you're building a business or again a mission or missionary project, you're going to have to check in on your values and get those concretized.
Wow, so I mean, there's some work involved here.
Yeah.
Right? There's some work involved on one side from oneself, but what is the beauty about applying some of these principles? First of all, becoming aware that they exist, how we become modeled,
right,
and then how is that beneficial for us?
Well, I think we do a lot of right things in our lives, and until someone identifies that and says, that's what you should do, that's what you did right, then until we know it, we can't do it again and again. We can't do it intentionally. Okay. And as a leader or as a business owner, we definitely want to be intentional. Be intentional about how you do things, and then notice that if they work, and do them again and again. Working with a life coach or a therapist or a counselor can help you know when they're intentional or not.
Yeah. And so, I mean, another valuable principle, I think, from what you educated me on earlier in prep work, during the prep time, is now passion. As you all can see, we're moving through the different stages of development, as Dr. Trevino has alluded to. And so one of those critical stages is a principal stage. So what I'd like to do now is roll a clip, and then when we come back, you can educate us all on how that applies to us in our business.
What are you passionate about?
My passion is to help people. I like to help everybody. Almost every single employee, they was not picked up by some agency and interviewed. They are first come, first serve basis. They come in that they need job and this is their situation and we need help. Okay, come tomorrow. That's what the religious teaches us.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome to see. I love to see entrepreneurs displaying passion for what they do. And I think at one point you had even asked him, Doctor, why are you so passionate? And his voice inflection changed, the way that he was, his whole just facial expressions, they changed.
Well, and this is really what our show's about. You see it here. What we're talking about is whatever you're passionate about. And the reason we're talking about values is because what you're passionate about got created from values. So looking at your values are indicator of your passion. Look at your passion, it's an indicator of your values. You can go back and forth. But the key is that doing what you love, in other words, what you're passionate about, long enough that it becomes your purpose. And purpose then becomes your profit. You can see that he valued helping people. He saw identity in himself as abundance. He created identity and the stories of his father, how his father served very humbly as a servant until he learned his craft. And you'll hear the same thing that RJ did. He served as a servant many, many times. He worked in restaurants before he owned his own. And so he saw that as an apprenticeship. Now, the reason he saw it that way, again, because of his father, that was modeled to him, left an imprint, created identity. But you can see how these terms become our norm. Well, his life experience created his norms. And now we're at that point, which is so exciting, is when your values are now entrenched. So there's 3 stages of crystallization of a value. There's the pre-moral stage, which is children are at that stage. And unfortunately, even psychopaths are at the stage of pre-moral because they will do whatever it takes to get whatever they want. Then we get to the conventional stage where now we're doing things because they're logical and they make sense. Then that final stage, the stage that I love writing about, researching about, is the principled stage. And that's where exceptional leaders, successful people will eventually end up. And that's because their values have now been crystallized. They can't change. They'll fight for it. They'll wake up early for it. They'll go to sleep late for it. And this is the Gandhis. These are the Martin Luther Kings. These are the Mother Teresas. But even then, they're even the business owners that are out there in our world. Because now they're doing things and they don't even know why. Because it's the value. They don't own the value owns them.
Well, I mean, I think today's show has been one of my favorites because you're kind of taking us kind of at the very root of how we become entrepreneurs and how some of us achieve levels of success that others wish that they had.
Right.
And it's all about becoming self-aware. Now, let's go ahead and do a little instant rewind in case somebody's just joining us really quickly. Let's go through the different stages and just a brief description of what each one is. Let me go ahead and actually put them up first.
Okay.
And then we'll go through each one of them individually. So here are the different stages of development: imprint, modeling, socialization, pre-moral, conventional, and principled. And here's what Dr. Trevino was talking about. The first one is the imprint period. Tell us a little bit about imprint and why is that important and as it relates to JR and India Palace.
Okay, sure. And I just want to make it get that clear. There's 3 major stages of value development. The last 3 that we mentioned, which is pre-moral, conventional, and then principle is how they get solidified. It is a developmental process, but it's a little different. So the first stage of value development is the imprint period. This is where you're just a sponge. You're from age 0 to 7. Everything comes at you is just the truth. It's just the way it is. This is when you learn what's good and bad. This is where we can actually be traumatized, unfortunately, because we're just taking the world at face value. Things are happening, and again, good, bad. At this stage, since we don't question anything, we may get what we define today as good may later on, or bad may later on become a limiting belief, and we'll do a whole show about just that. But that's the imprinting stage.
All right, let's see another area that we talked about today, and here is the conventional stage, and we saw that also here with RJ, or JR rather, RJ. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about this particular conventional stage. Why was that so important to RJ?
Well, conventional stage is where you're using logic. And he sees that, okay, I need to make money. I don't like this thing of how the police keep coming and just, raiding the medicine man, which was his dad. So conventionally, he makes a decision. Well, this guy over here that's serving food is making just enough money. Now, he had a value of helping people. So he took the medicine man value of helping people and made a conventional decision. And you can see he did that later on in his life, around the age of 13.
Okay. So now we had another one yet. And let's go ahead and roll the clip on that one. Socialization period.
Socialization is where you begin to combine the things that you learned from your parents, the things that you learned from your peers now, and there is more peer work here, but now you're trying things on. And you're trying things in society. It's not as much about you, it's about functioning in the world. So this is where he eventually develops that idea of owning a restaurant, of bringing in family into the restaurant, and being the source of abundance for family, and being the go-to person in his family. And you can see that in his story.
Okay, so let's go ahead and roll. I guess we have a couple of other points. Is that correct?
Yes. So as you looked at these values that he developed in his life experience, the next stage, according to Massey, is the premoral. And this is where, again, you've got a baby or a child that's going to do whatever it takes to get what it wants. Give it to me now. You can see a child that says, I just want it. Why do you want it? Just because I do. I want it right now. That's a premoral stage. Or unfortunately, people that we call psychopaths, that do whatever it takes to get whatever they want. But the next stage is conventional. So we're taking values that developed, now we're using them to make practical decisions. The last stage is when they become crystallized. And I want to tell you what's really amazing. Until we have a test, there's no crystallization. In other words, life will send us adversities. And we'll be talking a whole show about what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Literally, at the level of neuroscience, we know that this is true. What happens is when you get adversity thrown at you, this is when your values that were pre-moral, conventional, then become crystallized. And again, it takes pressure to make a diamond. You've heard that before. And what I'm telling you is when you get your values becoming principles, guess what? You have been tested. You have been put under pressure. And that's what makes amazing leaders and amazing movements. And that's what changes the world.
Do you want to become an amazing leader? Do you want to become someone who has the power and the potential to change the world? Continue to tune in every single Monday to Paradigm of Profit. But also, I would encourage you to reach out to Dr. Trevino on just a personal business side, because we can only provide so much value here during the show. But the doctor has a great practice here in San Antonio called Brain Coach, LLC. And that's where you can really maximize these opportunities and these trainings by talking to her more on a personal level, so she can get to know exactly who you are, and more often than not, she actually teaches you who you really are and how you got that way, and allows you now to take that information, leverage it to uncover limiting beliefs, to uncover that lid that we all have sometimes, and help you reach your true potential. I was going to say professional and potential, and it came out potential. So yes, that's a new word, and I'm proud of it. I'm going to own it. Right? So we want to thank you guys for continuing to watch, for your viewership every single Monday. We try to provide as much value in a short amount of time because we know that you guys as entrepreneurs are all very, very busy. But one of the things that we're going to do moving forward is we're going to provide you behind the scenes access to some of these conversations that we have with entrepreneurs week to week. We're also going to provide you now, we're really excited to announce that, is a podcast. So we're going to take some of these episodes, we're going to put them in audio format and release them on a podcast. And so look out for that moving forward. And we're also going to go ahead and talk about, I think, releasing some, like we mentioned earlier, some collateral material, some printouts that you can use.
Yes. Yes. In fact, RJ, we got some affirmations that we will be putting out there because, you know, I noticed his thinking was very advanced and even his pursuit of spirituality within his business. By the way, you'll notice that people that become principled in their values, they actually have almost a spiritual connection to their business where now it's become a mission or it is their ministry. And you're going to see this again and again as we spend more and more time with people that own their own business or lead anything in our community and in our world. But I want to remind everyone, Carlo and I are so committed to you having a life that you love. And we tell you, living a life that you love means live with passion. Turn it into your purpose and then turn that into your project, your business, whatever it is, and allow your life to be fully expressed because that's your passion.
I'll tell you what, that is really great advice. Aren't we glad that we have her with us here? And so I want to thank you again for watching. We want to encourage everyone to please like, comment, and even share this episode so that other entrepreneurs like yourself can benefit from the information. We also want to just remind you that a lot of what we do is done just basically we want to help people. At my 3 pillars, you know, I exist is something, you know, this phrasing is something that I learned from you, Doctor. So I exist to educate, edify, and empower others, and I love the opportunity to do that through this forum, through this platform. But we couldn't do it without your support. So we want to ask you that if it's not too much of an inconvenience, go visit us on patreon.com/Paradigm of Profit. And that is a specific page where you can show your support and appreciation for what we bring you in the form of a monetary donation. And you can do it for as little as $2 a month. And that'll allow us to continue to create this type of content and bring it to you as timely and as succinctly as possible. So we want to thank you ahead of time for that. And do you have any closing thoughts, Doctor?
We were created for greatness. Life tries to get us to believe that we should be ordinary, but you were created to manifest those talents that you have within you.
And you know, you sent me a really great quote yesterday that you mentioned. You know what? If you can put this up, you want to tell us a little bit about that quote?
It really is about what I just said, and what it talks about is allowing your passions to create your purpose, and it will create eventually your profession.
So there's a quote there on the screen for you guys right now, and I'll tell you that's something that we should all aspire to live up to right there. You know, being passionate about something and not limiting ourselves from going out there and allowing it to perhaps even become our profession. So without keeping you guys any time longer, we want to thank you guys as always. And you want to thank everybody?
Yes, thank you everyone for tuning in. We've got a lot more amazing stuff to send your way.
All right. Look forward to it. Y'all have a great day.